Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gents. Hope everyone is well. That was a lie, by the way, Sam. It is catchy, that's why I put it there. Yeah, I just got off. I think I got off YouTube or somewhere. It was one of those free ones. I got it off some piece of software anyway, but there you go. Okay, what day is it? 22nd of May, 2023. As most people know by now, I'm trading the 2000 tick chart of the S&P 500 futures market. Friday was an absolute appalling abomination. It was the worst trading I've done. I did look back and I don't know what was going on, but something wasn't working right. So I did put a message on Facebook. Just sometimes you just need to talk about it, and I spoke about it, had a couple of hints of sort of motivational stuff. I will say, if any of you guys aren't involved in the Max Facebook group, and it's not run by Mac, I think it's run mainly by people like Marco, Daniel, and you got any issues, I got to say, I've never had a bad word from to say about that place. If ever you need a pep talk or a bit of advice, you get some good solid support from there. So I will say, if you're going for a tough time and some things are just getting to you, sometimes it's good to just get on there and speak your mind, and I did. I'm clearly just taking silly, riskier trades. I need to focus on those trades that literally jump out at me. So there you go anyway. So hopefully things will go a little better. Same Friday was a huge loss for me. Yeah, it's just one of those days, wasn't it? Every time there was a setup, there was a trap. It's just, I mean, what's it? Brandt sort of knocked the hammer on the nail and said, if there's a setup on every bar, in every other bar, there's clearly something's not right. But it was just, there was a setup here and a setup here and a setup here. It was just constant like this, and there was just setups, and they were, What I decided to do was, if we get days like that where the market isn't moving much, maybe within sort of 8 or 10, what I've done is I've got my normal contract here where I go for sort of around the 2 to 4 points depending, but I've also opened up a separate one there, just a 1 point scalp. And what I did notice, a lot of the trades that I lost would have made a point. So when we're getting these really choppy, frustrating days, there's setups, but they're just not going far. I noticed out of the setups, I think 75% of them would have made a point. And sometimes if you just, I don't know, if something's not right and you're taking riskier trades for some reason, if anything, so I've just set that up. So if I do finally get one of those days, I'm just going to, market's been so choppy and low volatile. Yeah, it has. I got to say, I've been trading now for 2 years. The end of this month, I started doing it in June, 2 years ago. And this is the hardest it's felt. When I started, it seemed to be so more straightforward. There was just more setups, and there were cleaner setups. I was just looking back at some of my charts, and I suppose the thing is, with the interest rates being high at the moment, and money's just tight and things, there's so much just volatility. But I suppose when eventually interest rates go down, people start investing a bit, and we get steady growth. Things like the S&P 500, you should have a lot more steadier days, maybe where we get some nice ranges. And we're still going to get the odd day like this, and maybe a little bit of a bigger pullback on something. But we should get some smoother running days, hopefully. That's what I'm guessing it is anyway. But yeah, in fact, I'm just looking at that. There's a second entry long there, so that technically is a failure. Where's the market? Market opens in about 20 seconds, so I'm going to have to leave that one alone, unfortunately. But I've just got to sit back a little bit, take a breath, and just think a little bit more what I'm doing, and just go for those 1 to 2 trades. When you start, volume has been... When you started, volume has been twice what it is now. Yeah, volume is about half. Yeah, you're probably right there, mate. Okay, market's officially open. We've got a little bit of an up and down there, so... yeah, so it's just a case of I'm just going to have to be more patient. just focus on one, maybe two trades. I mean, two really is more than enough. If you can get, an average, maybe a couple of points on two trades, you can earn a really good living. You can earn a ton of money theoretically. But I think the most important thing is getting trades that work. They are there. We do see them. But I've just got to focus on, just taking those trades and leaving the crap alone and leaving just the riskiest, silly stuff. You know what I mean? Leaving maybe trades around the centre. There's you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. But I feel a little bit clearer today anyway. But I did look back and some of the stuff I'd taken was just appalling. Okay. So there's a failure there. I'm trying to go once, try to go twice, but it's just a little bit congested there and it's at the top. So maybe we're going to push higher and turn into a range, or maybe we're going to come down. I'd say we're likely going to come down. But there's not much room to the lows. So I'm just going to have to... I just don't know at the moment. Whenever it gets congested like that, there's just so much stuff you can get trapped in. I mean, look at that straight away. You know what I mean? The trouble is you're going short right in the middle of that range, so it could literally come down for a few ticks and then stop you out. And it just seems whenever there is a setup, it's a trap. So, there is a failure there. We have popped out of this little bit of a range and come and push back in a little bit. If it was down here somewhere, we were retesting somewhere, but it's sat more or less right on top of the EMA, so I think it's just a bit risky. I mean, at quick glance, it looks like it's slowly working up. At a quick glance, it might well pull back in here, but if you were just to have a quick look at this and say, where is it going, up, down, or sideways? You'd probably say up with a bit of sideways. So just going short in the middle of that lot is just risk. I mean, there's nothing worse than getting into a trade and it comes down half a point, 3/4 of a point, and starts going the opposite direction, and it just does it all the bloody time lately. So I'm just going to have to wait for really high quality setups. Those ones that you'd sort of bet your mother on, those type of trades. So I'm not saying it's not going to work, but just straight away it just looks naff, doesn't it? We've pushed down a bit, one leg, two leg. It's just got danger written all over it. So let's have a look. Let's see who's in. Speedy, how you doing, buddy? Let's have a look. Okay, so there is a second entry short there, but same again, right round the middle. EMA's flat. No idea what it's doing, so let's leave that alone. So let's have a look. Speedy, how you doing, buddy? How you doing, Sam? You like that catchy tune? I like it as well. There we go. Stopped out. So good decision. First thought of a trade. Good decision. So let's have a look. How do you say that name? Corsi. I hope I got that right. St. Friday was who lost. Yeah, it was. It was my worst day's trading. I think I won one trade in about 6, something ridiculous like that. It was just horrendous. I just seemed to get myself in a stupid frame of mind. But there you go. It happens. It's all part of the journey, isn't it? You just got to identify it and just try and improve it. Well, Miss Scroll Daddy, good morning. Yulan, how are you, mate? Brant, how you doing, bud? SW Blaze, good morning. Tech 111, good morning. Was Pal speaking? I've got no news on my screen, so none that I'm aware of. Sam, just relax and let the first 15 minutes go. Probably a good idea that. Sit back, take your hand off the mouse, have a little bit of a chat, figure out what's going on, and then, it's sometimes, that's what I mean. Say 1 minute it looks like it's coming back in, and next minute. But that's what I mean about having a quick glance. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that the market's slowly going upwards. So, thinking about shorts already is risky. So the reason I've done that is I'm just thinking maybe spiking channel, possibly, I don't know. But yeah, sometimes you've got to get some movement to try and work out what sort of day it is. I mean, if it's an uptrend, we're looking for longs, aren't we? But if we don't really know what it's doing, looks like a spiking channel. We'll see if it drops here, but I did have a leg and a leg, so we'll see. So if I missed Wood. How you doing, buddy? How are you, Wood? Right, when you started, volume's been twice. Yeah, you're not wrong, mate. Just right. Yeah, I read that. Yeah, good idea, that, Sam. Sensible words then, my friend. Sometimes it's good to just sit and watch and let it sort itself out. There's me thinking about going low, and look, So it just goes to show sometimes it's good to have some movement. At least then you can try and figure out. So at first glance, touch. So it seems like it's working upwards. So okay, so we'll go with that for starters. Need more PA determinants, but yeah, absolutely. Morning to you, Toad. How you doing, bud? How you doing, mate? I had a couple of messages anyway over the weekend from some guys here. So I appreciate those. Anybody ever sends me a message, don't think I don't read it. I absolutely do. Because, I suffer with a little bit of self-doubt and frustration and confidence. I'm no different to most of us. So, messages I get, they give me a lift. Trust me, they do. So anybody who ever sends me one, it is appreciated. So thanks. So Edward, good afternoon. How are you? KBL1, spiky yields. Spiky yields. That's one thing that's one way of calling it, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah. So let's just see if I can't get back down to just thinking about, one, maybe two trades a day, but just letting all the crap go by. So much of this choppy stuff. I mean, Matt calls it choppy for a reason, because it chops you up. And I think what happened to me on Friday, let's rephrase that. What stupidity I did Friday was getting right into the middle of the choppy stuff. It was like going to a gunfight with a knife. I was just asking for trouble. I don't know what was going on with me. Sometimes you get a couple of losses and straight away you feel like you sort of feel hard done by, and you got to, you got to get stuck back in. But what I will say is trading one contract is definitely helping. I don't feel as stressed when I'm in a trade. So there you go. So let's see how we get on anyway. So, Edward. I did have a look at some of the those things you mentioned. What do they call them? Bookmap type things. There's a couple I was watching a few videos on just to get a feel for it. Because I think if you can have a small chart somewhere, maybe above your head, above your chart, that maybe gives you a little bit of extra information on where the sort of the big money is, or where the liquidity is, or the aggressive traders. I think something like that can only aid you. So I'm going to look a bit more into it, and there are a couple of places. There's GOME, G-O-M-E. They do one of which I think is about $25-30 a month. But you can get a trial on that. So I'm going to have a trial and learn a bit more about them. But I did some stuff with the family over the weekend, so I didn't have a massive time. But I did look at some last night and watched a couple of videos. Gunfight with a knife. It's the untouchable reference. That's it. I think you're old enough to remember that film, mate. What's that? The Untouchables. The Untouchables. Was that the Untouchables? Was that the old Sean Connery one? Was it Sean Connery and is it Kevin Costner? I can't remember. That's got to be what, 90s, early 90s? I don't know. Okay, so we've had a big shoot up there. So that's, I've put it there. So whether you put it there or there, but it's probably about right. Push up. Look like a couple of legs back, but we've way surpassed that. Seriously considering not trading this afternoon. Lots of companies profit data out today. Really? Interesting. Companies profit data out. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay. Got you. I thought you meant out as in weren't working. Yeah, I got you. So let's see how we've done type thing. Yeah. Well, I'm on the stream, so if I don't trade, I'll watch. But I am just going to seriously just be careful and see if I can't make amends for Friday. I don't mind cocking up. I don't mind ballsing up. As long as I try and learn something for it, You don't mess up on purpose. You mess up, due to emotions, lack of experience. But, I've had to learn to sort of not beat myself up a bit and just think, you know. But I did have some nice messages, and I forget really. I've been trading now 2 years. 2 years really isn't long to learn to trade. It isn't, especially when you're not getting any guidance. You know, I mean, if you're fresh out of college and you go to a big city bank and they teach you how, you know, the ways of the world and how to trade, it's a different story. But when you've got to learn yourself and you've got to try and earn money at the same time, it's not that easy. But I will just quickly read you something. I did put a message the other day. Well, it was more I needed to just have a talk about what happened. And then you get some nice feedback. What did somebody say? Oh, Sachi Devi. I read a quote sometime, and I've read this before, but I'll read it out again if it helps anybody, great. I read a quote some time ago, must be this group, or someone said it, stop looking for reasons to take a trade, look for reasons not to take a trade. Simple but effective. You know, sometimes I find I'm doing that. Right, okay, how can I get into this trade? How can I make this trade work? It's the wrong way to do it. I need to think about, okay, what's wrong about this trade? Is it okay? Is it this? Is it that? I need to, you know, think about the reasons why not to take it. And if I can't find any reasons, then I take it. So I like that. What subscription videos did you look at? There's a guy, what's his name? I wrote it down. He's got some videos, but I watched about 3 or 4 different videos. Let me find this guy's name. Let me just do a quick search. He is called, let's have a look. Trader Dale. So look at Trader Dale. Is that Trader Dale? Yeah, Trader as in trader. Dale, D-A-L-E, and just look on order flow. And there's a few there as well. Think with Bookmap. That's another one. Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, I like that one. Trader Dale. It takes a bit of getting your head around, but yeah, Trader Dale. I think I understand the basics of order flow. What it basically does is shows you areas where people are interested in buying or selling. So, you know, if I'm on a runner or something and I know there may be some shorts up here or something, it gives me an idea maybe where I want to be thinking about taking profits. You know, or if I'm looking to buy at the bottom here and there's no others or very little, perhaps I'm not thinking about buying. That's my grasp on it. Now, whether it's right or not, I don't know. It does take a bit of getting your head around, but it is something I'm going to look more into, because if something can aid my decision making, then I think it's something that I owe it to myself to at least have a look at, you know. So there you go. Yeah, late 80s, or is it really? Grief. Same age. Are we really? Oh. I thought you were all youngsters. I didn't realise there was some old gits like me. What's some? Yeah, Jay. So yeah, have a look at that. Trader Dale order flow. Look on his site, and he's got on his YouTube channel. He's got quite a few videos explaining about it. But there are some bits of software that you could download for Ninja Trader and have a look. And I know a buddy of mine, Marlon, he uses it or has used it, and it's helped him. But I do see a lot of videos sometimes saying, you know, professional traders, you know, these big companies use order flow. They trade with order flow. You need to be thinking about order flow. Now, you know, how true that is, I don't know. That's just his word for it. But, you know, I think if you learn to do pure price action like Mac, you probably don't need it. But, you know, things change sometimes, and, you know, there's new bits of information out there and new bits of software. And if it helps you stay out of a trade or stay in a trade on a runner a bit longer, it's paid for itself. So maybe just, you know, a little extra confidence that you're doing the right thing. If you want to look for longer take profit charts, I suggest understand ICT. ICT, is that ICT? ICT. Somebody else mentioned something about that. I took a photo of it. It's isn't it the circle? In a circle? Is that it? Is that in a circle? I think somebody else mentioned that. That's another thing I looked at over the weekend. ICT. That sounds like it, Brand. In a circle. Let's have a look. I can't see it at the moment, but I think it might be. I think it might be in a circle. You know, I'm a believer in. When I first started trading, I did for 6 months with a trader called Andrew Lockwood, who, in a circle, yeah, that's it. Called Andrew Lockwood, who worked in the London Stock Exchange during the 80s, and he worked all over the world, various different investment banks, that sort of thing. And I think the early 2000s, he decided to trade for himself and work from his home. He's got a nice house on the outskirts of London. And he told me, find a strategy that works and stick with it, because what so many people do is go from strategy to strategy, because, you know, you explain the rules of a strategy and it seems easy, but it is effectively to learn. You know, it could teach you in a couple of minutes what a second entry is, but applying it to the correct context is a whole different ball game. So that's why I think a lot of people, you know, they try it. If it's tough, they try it. So I am a big believer in finding something and sticking to it. And I've got no doubt in my mind that Mac's system works and works successfully. But I think it's okay to think about maybe having, you know, some sort of, I don't know, maybe another chart above your head just to help you confirm things. If you know, if, like I say, if I'm going along here and there's a lot of buyers down here, then at least I know I'm on the right side of the market. Or that's what little I understand of it. So, you know, things change. You know, traders and trading is always developing, and there's new bits of software out, and, you know, designed to help you. And you know, the world goes on, doesn't it? ICT concepts only work in very specific trading conditions. And at certain times of the day, is a derivative of SMC. SMC is an idea. Okay, ICT is an actual trading strategy. It's always good to look at something. You know, you know, I've got no qualms with looking at other ideas. You know, things that can help, and, you know. So, but what I need to do is just sit and think a bit more. I do seem to suffer lately with impulsive trading. I'm my own worst critic as well. I get frustrated with myself, and sometimes it's almost like you're almost like punishing yourself in a way, aren't you? When you lose, you're frustrated, so you almost jump in to teach yourself. You understand what I mean? Self-sabotage. I think I've seen videos where they talk about self-sabotage in trading. You're sort of angry and frustrated with yourself when you take a stupid trade. That you sort of punish yourself by taking another one. And it does sound a bit odd, but well, we're human beings, do strange things sometimes. Adjust your channel just a touch. The day is fitting in there nicely. The day is fitting in there nicely. I'm not sure what you mean there, Sam. Jay, sorry. If you adjust your channel just a touch, the day is fitting in there. Oh, I see what you mean. Are you on about this, are you? Are you on about that, are you? I'm not sure what you mean, bud. But my point, Lance, Pats was developed for 4 ticks. Yeah, that is one thing I agree with. Yeah, I was going to mention that a minute ago, actually. If you want larger profits, you should understand some of the other concepts. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I noticed people like Marco and Daniel have moved up to 6 ticks. And I think that's okay, because bars do seem bigger. I mean, when I started trading 2 years ago, bars weren't as big as this. you know, most of the time you could pretty much get a 2-point risk with a tick above and tick below, or even at the moment, tick above, tick below is over 2.5 points. So I think 6 ticks is okay. But about a year ago, I went through Daniel's charts. He used to post them a little bit more regular, and I looked back, and I've mentioned this before, I looked back for, I think it was over 30, 32, 34 trades over a 2-week period, and every single one of the trades he marked would have made 2 points or more. So for me, to go from 1 point to 2 point was a no-brainer. But, I suppose when we get days that are very choppy, sometimes you'll get a trend and it'll be working between a big area and nice and steep, and it's relatively straightforward. But when we're getting so much of this chop, I think sometimes a point that's what I mentioned earlier. I've added a new 1 contract, 1 point scalp, just in case we get these days where it might be moving, 8-10 points from top to bottom and there's a lot of chop. At least that way, if I am stupid enough to get into something, I've got more chance of, because a few of the trades I took Friday would have worked for a point. So, there we go. I'll see. I'm not sure what you meant there, Sam, but the trouble is, it does look like a spike, 'cause it's quite a quick move, and then we've got a touch here, and it's touching there, touching a few times there, and a bit of an out. So I don't know. Using a system for scalping isn't going to be very effective for Yeah, that makes sense. I tend to go for 2 to 4. What I will say though is the good trades and the good setups do make the points. You will get, if it's a really good setup, and a lot of traders will get in it, it'll really move. And, I think making 2 to 4 points is pretty straightforward. But days where it is pretty choppy, then yeah, I absolutely agree. You've either got to stay out or maybe reduce your profits. But yeah, I mean, some, they do work and work well. You get a nice trend or something, and maybe there's a second entry there, and it goes. Maybe, you come down here again, another second entry, and it goes, and they all comfortably make, 2 to 4 points easily. But, it's okay, on things like ranges, trends and that. But the trouble is, market's not always trending nicely, and sometimes if it is, it's still erratic, and, so there we go. Trade 5 times risk, and I'm very profitable. I use nothing but concept that Matt teaches, absolutely nothing else. I'll tell you what I will say there, Chad, is the Penguin guy trades a lot of the time 1 to 2. So if he's risking 2.5 points, he'll make 5 points, and he's very successful. So if you read in the market and, we get, let's say, we know we've got to move, and then we get sort of a 2-legged correction, and we get the start of another move, then you'd expect to get, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 points off something like that. And that to me is how the Penguin guy reads. He'll often say, we've had 2 attempts to go higher, and now he's expecting another leg down. A trade he did, and it comfortably worked. So I think if you can read the right signs, then yeah, I think you're right. You can go, but I think the trouble with me the other day, it was that choppy, and that it wasn't that I wasn't, taking. It wasn't the points weren't the issue. They're just pure crap trades was my problem. I was just taking stupid trades. That was my issue. But sometimes if I'm reading the market, sometimes I feel like I'm really in tune with the market, and I can read it really well, and the trades I take go comfortably where I want them to. And other days, they just don't. And I think it's fair to say that days that they don't are the days where the markets are choppy, and I should really be calling on my patience to stay out of it, or at least if I do see a trade, then reducing my profits to a point or 6 ticks or something. So I think there's a time to go for some decent points, because sometimes, if we're in an uptrend and we get a leg down, a perfect measured leg, and we get a nice strong bar and it's moving, then those are the ones where you can maybe take for 5 points or more. But days where it's doing like this, there's not a massive amount in it unless you get it really right. So, to learn the best areas and context myself, yeah. The trouble is, Mac will point out a trade that will go for maybe 6 or 7 ticks, and it'll be an okay trade, but it might go a bit further off and come down. So what works for a point, as you were saying, doesn't always, but there are, and I think I heard the penguin guy say the other day, if he sees something that's only worth a point or two, or that there's only that much room, he just simply doesn't take them. But I think it's a good strategy he's got there. I kind of like that because, sometimes you might take 3 or 4 trades for a point each, and he'll take one and get 5 points. So I think it's something that you find yourself. He probably started with Mac and then slowly realised, well, hold on a minute, I'm reading the markets. And after that 1 leg and 2 legs back, I pretty much thought it was going to come up here, and there was 6 points. So I think you develop naturally as you progress as a trader. You develop to your own slightly style. The Daniels and Marcos tend to go for 6 ticks. They're very precise and they're super patient. But there might be, other traders that, that want to go for 1-to-1 or something like that. So I suppose you develop your own style to a degree, don't you? So back to a new week opening gap. Yeah, we don't tend to worry so much about those. It doesn't really work for this. It doesn't really work for this strategy of ours. But there you go. So, yeah, it takes time. It takes time to learn and develop. And I'm okay with that. I don't mind. As long as I feel like I'm getting somewhere and learning something. What does frustrate me is doing the same stupid thing in, day out. I just wish I'd have reduced to 1 contract a while back, because I think with my style of trading, I'm a little bit more risk averse. So in that case, I need to lower my risk a little bit. I know people like Marco. I think he said he had $50,000 accounts, but he trades 3 contracts. Now, a lot might say that's too much. Some say 2 is too much. But he's very careful and calculated. And I dare say he's got a very high win rate. So, if you're very controlled and disciplined, perhaps it doesn't matter if you're trading 3 contracts. But if you're like me, a little bit less disciplined, then I think you need to bring your contracts size down. So I just need to focus on sitting and waiting, basically, and finding a reason not to take a trade. Okay, so if I'm taking a trade here, is it a good reason? Should I take the trade? Well, it's below the EMA, so not really. We're not at the bottom, so not really. We haven't broken out of here, so not really. So I've got to try and find the reasons to not take a trade. But what I will say is sometimes when you get a nice trade, they literally leap out at you, and they're so bloody obvious. We got a nice trend, you get a second entry long, beautiful big bullish bar sat right on top of the EMA. Those are the trades you can't get your order in there quick enough. I need to focus on those. So, okay, so we seem to have had this little channel. It looks like a spiking channel we touched. So that sort of confirmed it, and we touched there perfectly along that top. So that makes sense. And then we seem to have had a bit of an overshoot, which has caused the same here. So whether we eventually push higher or not, I don't know, or whether we end up coming down. It's possible we may end up having something like that. I haven't even put in a top to bottom area yet, or put that there, or an open. So okay, open. Interesting. So I don't know whether we're going to bounce here and continue higher. Maybe we'll have a bigger channel. I don't know. Maybe it's a range. No idea yet, really. It's not very clear. Don't forget, guys, this is the last week. I think. Where are we? Oh no, there's a week and a few days left of the 80% off, and then it goes back up. So if you do use it, I did have some Friday. In fact, I had one Sunday, which is unusual. So if you do use my code, I appreciate it. And if you have used it, I appreciate it. It does that extra I get, enables me to work weekends and trade Monday to Friday. So you know where the code is anyway. I don't know what they'll do after. I still think 80% will be the new norm before long. They spend more time with it on 80%. No one's going to pay anything more than that otherwise. So looks like a couple of legs. Now there is a bit of congestion and the top of this little bit. Why isn't that lighting up? The top of this little channel's here, so maybe bounce, bounce, push up. No idea. That's what I would have thought. We'll push down to here, bounce off it. But we might bounce off it and push higher, or we could bounce off it and come down some more. I got to say, I did have a look at what's the software? Is it the iCity? I don't know. With all the little balls on there, it's the most confusing chart I've ever seen in my life. I gotta say, mind you, so many things look confusing. This probably looks confusing to someone who's never looked at it, but it did look confusing. Okay, so we came down there and we touched that. So that measured move as played out. Okay, so now, obviously, as we know, an overshoot can result in a reversal, or it might go further up. I'm not sure it will. It does look, it's starting to look bearish. So there is a possibility we could have something like that. Now, we'll either bounce off up here, or we'll come down, I think. Obviously. Okay, so we had those legs down, that's fair enough. So, strange there. So there is a second entry long there. Which is triggered, so it'd be interesting to see if that comes down. I won't be surprised if it does. I certainly wouldn't like to be in that trade. In fact, I had a message from a guy. Do you remember that guy Merce? Merce, he traded a while. I had a message for him last night. He'd been deployed somewhere. I think he was he reserves or something, military. I hadn't heard sight and sound of him for a while, and I had a quick message from him asking how I was getting on. Is it Joe? Joe something, I think his name is. Merce. He was trading under, streaming, not streaming. I don't think he was streaming. He was just going over his bar, I think, at the end of the day. But he did a lot of that type of trading. He'd take a short there. He would get into traps, take a short there and put his stop there. Try and pick up stops. Any better today, Lance? Me and you both struggle Friday. I think probably a few people did, Bill, Friday. It wasn't the easiest days. And the trouble is as a relatively inexperienced trader, you're sort of that keen and eager to make money and to build an account. You really feel that urge to get in there on a trade. And I think really on a day like that, you need to be extremely careful. I don't seem to have grasped those days where they're that choppy. You know, there was one or two guys on the stream said, this is too choppy for me, I'm off. That's exactly what they should be doing. That's sensible. Or if you do sit there, you've got to be incredibly careful and choosy on the trades, and maybe even, you know, lower your profit, lower your risk a bit. A bunch of the trades that I took would have made a point, but made no more than about 6 ticks. And obviously, I tend to go for two to 4. So it wasn't a day for me, really, but I carried on trading for some stupid reason. So I've got to learn to bite the bullet and either finish or switch onto a demo. But it's that urge, isn't it? You want to keep trading, you want to make some money, you want to get it to work. But I think that probably one of the most important parts of trading is knowing when to leave things alone, because you can't figure that out. You know, so look at that weird look. So there was we got a new high here, and it came down, a little push up there, and it triggered, and then came down and stopped that out. So you know, there's times where I'd have taken trades like that, and look what happened. Triggers you, came down, stops you out. So those trades that are sort of in the middle of I don't know, they're blowing in the wind, really, aren't they? There's nothing there. I've just got to learn to leave them alone. Back into the swing, yeah. It's not easy, Bill. It takes time. You sort of got to have a strong will, really. I suffer with that a little bit sometimes. But as long as I get the sense that I'm improving or I'm learning, as long as I learn something, but someone, and I'm glad they did actually, some guy reminded me that you've only been doing it 2 years. It's still early. You're still finding your feet. So what's that comment it was. So, yeah, you know, sometimes you hear about people doing well and that, and, you know, it takes time. I suppose if we were all doing well and making a ton of money, we wouldn't be all sat chatting on a stream, would we? We'd be on your own, you know, be on a yacht somewhere, wouldn't you? Wow, look at that. Okay, so there's our answer. Down we go. Yeah, Steve Webber. You were still early in the process. At only 2 years, you were just finding your own focus and process. Relentless focused action is what's required. What you're doing, consistency will come. You get nice comments like that people are just reminding you, don't beat yourself up because you haven't been doing it that long. So sometimes I feel like I'm struggling here and I'm not going to make it sometimes, but that's where the sort of the guts of it gets in. Sometimes you've just got to, if you want something bad enough, you'll keep going. And I've only just recently turned 20 and I've been doing 18 months. So I can't really complain. Yeah, it does take time. Someone told me, what did it take him? It took him about three or 4 years before he started feeling like he was really getting somewhere and things just started to click a bit more. But it's like anything, the longer you've been doing something, eventually the better you'll get at it. It's a numbers game to a degree, isn't it? And someone else mentioned as well in a comment, if they don't take a trade for today, they consider that a result, a success, and rightly so. If you've been patient enough to sit there for 3 hours and you haven't found a trade and you've managed to walk away, I think that's it's a good reason. You could class that as a bit of success there. Because that can be tough sometimes. I mean, sometimes coming to the end of the day and I haven't taken a trade is where I take my most stupid trades. Single bars, less than 8 ticks. What I missed there? Yeah, if you get a good trade, if you read the market well and you get a good trade, 10 points isn't a huge amount, is it? I mean, I don't know whether you'd taken that or not, would you? But we've obviously clearly had a breakout. We've stalled a little bit. We've cooled down. We've had a big bullish bar, but it's not something I take. But, if it's your strategy and you know how to read the market, it's not a lot. Okay, so that's gone up exactly 10 points. So it's not difficult if you know what you're doing. We tend to think this is, this is the only strategy. So there's a second entry long there. Probably wouldn't take that. It's a bit early, but if you did, comfortably made your points. If you're prepared to, sit and wait, we've got this little channel here, we'll have a break. I don't know whether you're taking that, but there you go. But there's plenty of movement, enough to get the points, but you've obviously got to know what you're doing and how to read the charts. Sometimes they're readable. Other days they don't seem to make a lot of sense. So we've had this little channel here, and it's sort of clearly pushed out. We've had an overshoot, and it looked like an area that was struggling to go upward down, and then off it went. So we've had a little bit of break and a new high. So whether we'll continue higher, I don't know at the moment. To me, the toughest thing is to take a loss and then walk away. Yeah, you're not wrong, mate. Yeah, it's easy to walk away without a trade and at zero, but walking away with a loss is the tough bit. I find that hard. But I think if it happens, it's a good exercise. It's a useful tool to have in your arsenal, that is, to be able to do that. Yeah, that's it's a good skill. It's a good skill, that is, if you can do that quite comfortably. Different people do different things, different ways, different people. Yeah. Practice. Yeah, it's as I've said before in some of the comments I've made, trading isn't black and white. You think it's going to be, but it's not. There's so much grey area. What I think is quite a good trade, you might not, and vice versa. Because if you've had success in a certain type of trade, it'll be something that might work for you. I see this a lot. Like a bull flag, and the reason I see bull flags is because I do trade a little bit of crypto, so I've studied there a little bit. That type of thing, we had a push up like that and a little bit of sideways, and then you quite often get the mirror image of it. So here's trades where I might particularly like to trade, but if it's not a fantastic setup, some might not. But if I take that quite a few times and I have some success with it, it might become one of my types of trades. So we've all got our own slight way of doing it, haven't we? There's definitely some congestion there. You can obviously see it there, and some support there and there. So whether it'll come back down or whether it'll push up, I'm not sure at the moment. But so far, definitely seem to be ranging. had a little bit of a. I'm not massively convinced that is a channel. It might be a bit of sideways with 1-2 pushes up. I think if you take that away, it's, I don't know. I don't think it's a major issue. That looks like leg up. Yeah, I mean, whether it is or not, it doesn't really matter now. It's irrelevant. Me, I've got 3, bud. I've got 3. I did. It was arguable whether I should really. I always had the theory that if I can make one work, then I'll add to it. But I think I like about having 3 is you're spreading. I've reduced my contract size and I'm spreading the risk a bit. So you can still build some funds in there without just one account. So I kind of like that. But I didn't get any more than 1 until I actually managed to get a payout. But I would just say, especially if it's your first, I don't think I know anyone who hasn't blown at least a few of them. So I'll be inclined to just keep it simple, just keep it at 1, focus on 1 for the time being, and then because none of that, if you're paying $140 for a few of them and you blow a few at the same time, get a little bit costly. Yeah, I tend to forget sometimes that there's quite a few people trading different strategies. It's not all max. No, I didn't, mate. I didn't. I was down. I think in the end it was about $400 odd per account. But considering how many trades I lost, I did come out of some of them a couple of them early. So it wasn't terrible. It wasn't as bad as it would have been if I'd have been trading 2 contracts. So it didn't have the same. Well, I managed to go through the weekend without blowing the account. So there you go. So it does make a difference. Just trading 1 contract. You had a payout? No. I did an account. When did I get the payment? I think it was early February. I think I got an account up to $7,500. And I took a payment, and for some reason I came in, I took a crap trade, took another crap trade, and before I knew it, I'd lost $2,300 in one day, and that took me down to a little over $3,000, and I had a bad day a little while after, I think the following day. Sometimes when you lose that much money out of your account, it's hard to recover. It's hard to keep your emotions in check anyway when you're relatively new, but I just never recovered, and that's okay. I'm not too, after a few days of crying and playing with razor blades and stuff, I recovered in the end, and you just got to move on. Fortunately, after a few days, I can recover quite well. I don't seem to hold on to it for long, but I think, it's fair to say if you manage to build an account and you take a bit of money, it doesn't mean that's it, you're home and dry. You're still going to stumble, and that's exactly what I did. But what you just got to do is just get back up, try and find a way around it, But the one thing I hadn't done was dropped my contract size. I'd been too stubborn. I'd had people say, a buddy of mine, Marlon, had said to me a dozen times, go down to 1 contract, and I didn't. I said I was going to, and I didn't, because I was greedy. We hear all these stories about the amounts of money that you can earn, and we know. And I think it's pretty common, you're rushing too quick to try and get it. And it doesn't work. You can't just go, from earning a normal average wage to earning good money. The emotions just won't allow it. You're going to mess up. So I think it's, you go from 1 account, then maybe to have 3, and then maybe you take 3 $2,000 payments in a row, $6,000, and then you build a bit more, and you know. The more money that's involved, the more emotions, and I believe anyway, you need to build up those emotions to be able to cope. So yeah, it's not easy, and it does take time. But I've got all the time in the world. This is what I want to do. Now I'll either be successful at it, or I'll end up trying. Whatever it is, whichever way it is. But I do believe if you keep trying and keep pushing and keep learning, you'll get there. 30 and 80 evaluations and take out 2,000. Yeah, exactly. Well, I've been doing the $140 because if you can trade or keep that account for 30 days, you're going to pay another $80. So it's a much better deal, the $140. But maybe if it's your first account, maybe first account or two or something, maybe do the $80. But yeah, I mean, if you get a few accounts and you take $2,000, that can cover a chunk of your losses. You can soon get it back. But it does take time to build up there. It doesn't come easy. It's way harder than I ever thought it was. I had a family member a couple of months ago that says, "Oh, when you start making decent money, tell me how to do it." And then when you realise the pain and suffering and misery you've been feeling, and I just find that quite funny. I put, yeah, no worries, I'll write it down on a pad for you what you got to do, and then you can make a fortune as well. Yeah, lifetime's in best. Because you're not under the pressure to make money then. If you're having a tough time, you can take a week off or a few days off. You haven't got to think about that other $80 at the end of the month that you've got to keep paying. If you take your time and spend 3, 4, 5 months trying to build, still got to pay your $80. So unless you unless that you've blown accounts and you think you may do it again, then maybe if you want to save yourself a bit, do the $80. But personally, it's not a massive amount more. But all you've got to do is get to 30 days when you're due for another one, and then you've already made your money back. Excuse me, just a second. In fact, I'm just going to take a quick. My daughter's just coming through. I'm just going to take a quick break for 2 minutes. Okay, sorry about that. We've had a break at this. Let's have a look. Break. No setup really there anyway, and we're at the top now, so nothing really. Okay. Sorry about that. My daughter had just come in from, and I knew the dogs were going to bark. Yeah, it's not a very clear day today, is it? Let me just see if okay, so we've had a bit of an overshoot there and a reversal. Let me see if this. Do you still watch Mac's daily chart lessons? Yes, I do. Yeah, if anything, just to confirm my own. One thing I will say about Max, now I like the bloke. I think he's a really nice guy. The only one thing I'll say, the slight thing that I find difficult is, I think Mac takes, I think around, I've heard him say it before, around about a couple of trades a day, but he might mark 12 to 15. And the trouble is, it's knowing, if you know which ones he takes, because a lot of the time some of those trades are questionable and maybe just for experienced people. So sometimes, I don't know, I think it makes me take more riskier trades. You know, if we see and go, okay, I marked that one. In my opinion, they're a little bit more risky. This one was the one I took, and this one was the one I took. Because you'll understand about, you know, if you know the types of trades he's taking, you could go, yeah, actually, I felt that was the best one. This one up here was a bit risky, and this one down here was a bit risky. But, you know, sometimes I wish he would be a little bit more. Now, have you noticed Marco started, he put a loss, one of his losses, and I'm glad he did that, because I think things, when traders doing that, because I actually took that trade as well. It was a second entry short. It was 1 leg, 2 leg. And he lost that one. But it's nice to see, because it does make you feel better, because you're thinking, well, I took that trade and it didn't work for me. So I like it when people put their losses, because it makes you feel better. And it, you know, I wish Matt would do it. I understand why he doesn't. You know, it's his thing. He doesn't like, I don't know why people won't want to do it, but it'd be nice. I mean, Mac's the big man, isn't he? He's the master. He's been doing it years. We're all learning from him. So if he said, okay, out of all these, that's the one I took, or that's the one I took, you can go, yeah, okay, I get that, rather than, okay, mark this one, but it just isn't it right to me, or it's a bit this. And I think sometimes you can just get a, you know, that's my personal opinion, because, you know, a lot of the trades he put are quite advanced, when a lot of us are relatively new, you know. Okay, so we've got a new high here. There is a second entry long there, but the trouble is we're not far off the highs. And I just don't know. Where's it going to go? We're going to go up here? We've only been up here once before. We are sort of ranging, but who knows? It could be a leg, a correction, and another leg. But I don't know. It's going a little bit sideways there. So if you would ask me to guess, I'd say it's more likely to go up. But I'm not going to bet a trade on it. Let's have a look. It is a little bit congested as well, so that just adds to the risk. There is a second entry long, but we've actually had a break from this channel, and we've made a new high, and we tried to go high into the top line, so it could trigger, and then think, okay, we tried to go high twice more, let's come back down. Muller said Mac was like, seriously, wow, 503 out of 506, bloody hell, wow. I didn't realise you could be that accurate, but I suppose if you've been doing it years and you know what you're doing, I mean that, I know he's only scalping okay, so we've had a break new high, try go on. So there's a failure here now. There's a second entry long there, which is triggered, but there's a failure. But I'm taking the failure there, right in the middle there. And I don't know whether that's risky or not. It's not a trade that would jump out at me, but it is a failure. It's a triple test. Let's take it. No, let's not take it. It's a triple test, but the trouble is we've been going up, so I don't just... I nearly jumped in that a little bit. What's the word? A little bit too spontaneously. It does look like a triple test, but it who knows? Only triple test, lower high, the EMA as old in price. It is too risky, and it's clearly congested. It's a risky trade. Might work. It could be 50-50. In fact, I wouldn't even say it's 50-50. I mean, the EMA is facing up. Price is moving up. This channel could be slightly different. I mean, look, the channel fits like a glove there, really, as well. So, I don't know. So, let's have a look. There's a failed second entry short there. So it may even go up and stop that out. Now, if I was scalping a point there, then that may not be such a risky trade. There's a point to the bottom, but I'm not, and it's just got a little bit risky. I'd say it's probably going to work. Let's see if that does. If you scalp, where's the point come to? Okay, so you've got to break that line. So would that have worked? I mean, it is a triple test. In fact, it's probably a little bit lower than that because I'm actually touching there. So let's go down to, let's go down to 1.2 there. So basically, if it hits the bottom, you'd have got your scalp. It's a lot like Brooks. So questionable. Yeah, it is. He's another one I want to read a little bit more about, Al Brooks. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, we're moving up, aren't we? So I just think that's risky. Now, that might be a place to go long. New high, second entry long, right off the EMA. But there again, I'd say that's probably going to work. It usually goes sideways. But there's a failure, you could say. It's definitely a second entry long. But there's not much room to the highs. So, and it's right in the middle of here, and we're literally, if I took that and I showed it for someone like Daniel and Marco, they were going, well, why'd you go long into those highs? You barely got a point, and rightly so. But it does seem to be the place where it's going to take off from, but it did come back a bit, didn't it? If it broke above there, then I'd say it's likely going to go higher, but it's just a trade I can't really get into. If I got to start taking better quality trades, it's not the area to take it really, because we have had a break and a new high, so it could continue up or it could come down. But the fact that it's congested, there's enough uncertainty there to really need to stay out of a trade. If there's uncertainty there, could go up or down really. If it breaks above there, then I'd say it may go up, but it may come down. So I got no idea at the moment. Pretty sure Mac wouldn't take that anyway. You're taking the trade right on that midline. Yeah, so for that to work, the failure and the triple test to work, for a point you've got to hit that line. Okay, it may work. You've got to hit the bottom there. But at the moment, the EMA is holding price. So it is slowly leveling off. 100% neutral. Exactly right. Exactly. Anything in there really, especially when we've already had a break and a new high, is neutral. Especially on a day like this. I mean, if we're on a downtrend, then you may think that might be, but let's see if the scalp... Okay, so the scalp would have worked. So, triple test. I don't know, maybe we'll mark that as a triple test. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so. He's off all week anyway, so we're never going to know. But the trouble is, at the moment, we are in an uptrend. And until something tells me different, I can't go short. And I'm not a fan of going long at the moment. I've got to stay out of this because it's Trap City. Now, although it made a point, it wouldn't have made a point and a half. So that's what I mean. So if Mac took that trade, let's have a look. Okay, so you may have squeezed a point. No, because it's actually on there, isn't it? So let's say there. So you'd have squeezed a point and a half at it, which is not usually enough for what I go. So it's the type of trade you want to stay out of. I don't think the Penguin will take that. I've heard him say if he doesn't think he'll get at least 1-to-1 out of a trade, he doesn't take it. And that's the type of trade where you're not going to get 1-to-1 really. You may do, but it's a coin toss. Funny thing is, there many times I'd say Mac wouldn't mark the trade, then it's marked. Yeah. Did you notice there was a little bit of laughing going on in the Facebook group? Mac marked 2 dojis. Now, to his credit, we had a nice uptrend, but it came down there. Perfect doji, he took it. Came down again. Perfect doji, he took it. Now, we're always taught, you don't take dojis, do you? But maybe if it's rocking it up and it's back at the EMA, then I don't know. I mean, how many times do we see a beautiful trade? Beautiful trend. It comes back to here. It's not a good setup bar, but it still goes higher. So, so maybe when you're skilled enough, you can take trades like that at the EMA if it's a small enough risk and we're in a strong enough trend. So maybe so. Okay, so it's still not in a rush to come down, is it? So let's see if this is a failed breakout. There's the open, the official open, and also the overnight highs are here, more or less at the same place. So that might be the place where it bounces. So trouble is, at the moment we've had this. It looks like a spiking channel, 2 separate channels. We've broken out of it clearly, and we've pushed up. We've made a new high, and we've tried another couple of times. So. Are we still going up? I don't know. I'm not sure. See, if you were scalping that for a point, you may take that. You'd have probably made a point there. Maybe not. Trouble is, as that's already played out and it's going sideways, I think it's dangerous going long or short at the moment. That triple test worked, so you may have took that one, but it is really congested and there's no argument there. And, there's a fair chance that we could come up here. We leg up there, back, so, who knows? Ooh, so if there is any longs there, they may get taken out, yeah. There's a little jump down there. Sometimes when you see those quick moves, we get a decent push out a few seconds after. So if we get a nice strong push down here, the last time we had moves like that in the direction I was looking to short, I took them and they worked really nicely. Which tells me there may have been a few sellers here, and then as soon as it hit that, boom, down it goes. But it turned into not far off a doji, so. But I would say, based on what I'm seeing, I think we're likely to come down. There's also a failure there, but it's not the best bar. And it's risky, but it does look to me like it's starting to work down. And we did push up there, and it sold off quickly. So there's definitely some shorts there, I'd say. So I think that, for me, markets out there. There you go. Yeah, it's happened. That's 3 times I've seen that happen. It pushes up at a point and then drops quickly, which tells me there's a bunch of short orders there. And then literally 10 seconds later, we get that quick move down. So that's the 3rd time I've seen that quick move, and then the market. So that might be an indicator. If there is a setup there, but we're a little bit uncertain which way we're going, that quick sell-off or shoot up, then maybe that's it's common sense. It tells you once it hit a point, it sold quickly because it dropped. Now I'm assuming to drop a bar that quick, there's got to be quite a few sell orders there. Now maybe that's where this order flow comes into it. If you can see there's sell orders there, if it starts to be aggressive selling there, and you're thinking, okay, well it's a failure, that's played out. This is where I want to go short. So I think order flow would help in that. See, at the end of the day, I might go short here, and it might trigger me and push up. Whereas if you've got the order flow and you see aggressive selling here, then you're not the only one thinking going short. So maybe it's always best to follow the crowd, isn't it? If people are buying, then you follow the crowd, don't you? If they're selling, and you would have thought a quick move down like that would indicate there'd be quite a few sell orders. So correct me if I'm wrong, but would that show up on some form of a order flow? That there's aggressive sellers there, would that show up? Because if it's a failure and we have that aggressive push down there, then maybe you jump in here and get a couple of points, which you would have done. So that's one thing I don't quite know enough about, whether you would see that aggressive selling now, and if it's in the right direction and our setup's there as well, then that may be the place to go short. Whose Facebook are you talking about? About me? If you're talking to me there, Chris, I'll show you. Max Price Action Trading, it's called. That's it there. And there's me having me whinge. Max Price Action Trading. It's a good group, a really good group. I've had tons of help and advice and pep talks when I'm struggling. If you're not a part of it, absolutely, yeah, this is quite aggressive. This is so if you can see some aggressive selling on that book map, or you get alerts when there are many large. Okay, so for me, taking that away, let's say that's the same height. Try to go once, try to go twice. It's a failure. Now, if that was slightly more bearish, we may take that because this is played out. So, and especially if you see that quick push down. The last couple of trades I've taken when we've had that quick push down was where I was looking to go short anyway. I've jumped straight in and they've worked. And not only have they worked for a decent amount of points. So if this is an area where we may go short and we see other traders going short aggressively, then at least it'll convince us that, okay, so our thought process is correct. So that's why I think it may be an advantage. Nothing on my order flow chart stood out. Negative delta. Strong. The only thing as we rejected off the upper RSI bar. Yeah, I don't know enough about it to comment really. See, are order flow and book map more or less the same thing? Are they? They just maybe show you the same information but slightly differently. I'm not sure about it, but just I've had this. I had 2 trades. I think one on Thursday and one on Wednesday that did that. An area where we could go short, it went up and all of a sudden dropped, which told me there were some short orders there. And if there's enough short orders to push that down, then maybe that's a trade I want to take, especially if I'm looking at it. But this is putting me off a little bit of sideways. But if quick push down and it was below, we'd actually broken below, pushed up, pushed higher and sold off. That tells me that maybe, okay, now we can go short. And look what happened. If you went into that trade now and you sat there, I think it's highly likely it's going to come down some more. So at the moment, you're being fair. You'd comfortably make 4 points out of that. And I'd say it's probably likely it may come down some more. Yeah, so Edward, were you, when we talked the other day, were you talking about, you were talking about Bookmap, weren't you, with all the quite complicated looking screen? I'm pretty sure that was me and you talking about that. Get alerts when there are many large sellers. Yeah, now I'm assuming to push a bar down quickly like that, there'd have to be a few traders in there. And I suppose if it does move quick, there's either a lot of traders in there or some large contracts. And as we can see, this is played out, and there was a failure there, and we've pushed out, pushed in, and dropped. That tells you it's tried to go back in. From that bar, you may take that, try and fade the breakout, and it's gone and then drop quickly. So that to me would be an indication that we're coming lower, and we have. So, Edward, is Bookmap and order flow more or less the same animal? Just so sort of set out differently. Am I right in saying that? Okay. How many buyers and sellers are active? Okay. Brant, is that more or less what you see on your order flow? I'm going to say, because you said nothing on my order flow chart, so I'm assuming they tell you the same thing, but maybe slightly different. Because if I pick something up and have something, I'd rather have something I can read. I know nothing about order flow. Okay, so what about you, Brunt? Is Bookmap on your remit? Is it, or are you? Do you know? Is it similar to order flow? If Edward doesn't know, it might have to come from you, that one, mate. If you know, or maybe they are slightly different. Okay, so that to me, touch. That looks like a channel. Well, it is. I don't think you can say we've had a break yet. This may be a break, so maybe second leg, second entry, then short. Trouble is, it's very choppy, isn't it? It's up, down, it's up, not quite as high. Yeah, I've got to say, that Bookmap does look confusing, but everything doesn't until you can. It's always difficult until you can read it, isn't it? Order flow shows active participant, market orders only. Okay, so if someone's got a limit order, if there's a large amount of limit orders, it won't show, no? You can't see resting orders. Okay, just how many orders transacted. I got you. Okay. See that? I don't know if anybody else notices when markets do that, do they? We had that sort of failure, didn't we? We pushed below the EMA, came back up and dropped quickly. Does anybody use that as an indicator of does that help you in your decision making? Because sometimes we do see that. And if you're looking for a short anyway, or a possible short, but what I will say is we've dropped out this little range. We've ended up pretty bullish. We've pushed back in and dropped down. So that tells me if there is anyone going along there and fading it, they're likely to get stopped out. And there's a big, a lot of short orders there. So that to me would be an interesting place to go short. And it's clearly worked. And it worked twice more for me when I've noticed that. But I do see quite a lot of videos on YouTube now saying that if you're not using order flow, you need to be, you know, a lot of sort of so-called professional traders. Mind you, traders, I suppose, will tell you. In fact, I did. Did you notice Did you notice Panda put a? Let me find it. A new video out. Where was it? Now I don't really take the mickey out of other traders, but he put the most profitable trader on YouTube or something. I forget where it is now, but I forget where it is. Oh yeah, Apex funded $300,000 risk-free trading account, live the most profitable trader on YouTube, verified. I took that short breakout pullback. Short breakout pullback. Not sure which one you mean there, bud. You can start to identify where large limit orders are based on how many market orders are absorbed at a level, and if there's any deviation. Like, do you use is it the GOM or GOME brand? Is it? I think Marco uses that. Marlon uses that. Sorry, a buddy of mine. So look, I'm sure it's the GOM or GOM. I can't remember. Something like that. It's certainly so. You can have a 2-week trial on it, and you can use it for as long as you want when you pay for it. It's pretty just clickbait BS for him to sell. It's private chat, yeah. Because I thought I'd seen him. I know he did that 24 hours thing, and I think he blew $300,000 PA accounts. From the range you were talking about a minute ago, I believe. Okay, I got you. That short pullback, yeah. Harrison, how you doing, buddy? Harrison, are you a new face? Are you? I don't recognise your name. Where you from, mate? Where you from? That one then, I think, yeah. Yeah, because we sort of closed outside of it quite bullish, didn't we? And then we pushed in and then we dropped quickly. I mean, all footprint charts are practically the same. I got you. Yeah, okay. There's some free ones for Ninja Trader. I know there's is it the DOM? Is it depth to market? I believe it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? Whereas I think the one I mentioned, the GOME, the GOM or whatever it is, it shows you individual bars and a little sort of coloured sort of bar by it, a thin colour bar by it, and then obviously the information, the relative numbers and that within the bar itself. By the sound of it, it's what the balls are showing on bookmap. Big balls, lots of orders. Yeah, I thought it might be something like that because there's red and there's blue, isn't it? I'm assuming the red is. I'll have to have a look at them both actually. Sometimes these things look a bit complicated, but when you sort of get to the nuts and bolts of them, they're pretty. It's more just a picture book of what things look like as opposed to numbers. I mean, you can see a coloured ball, a larger coloured ball, or a smaller coloured ball, can't you? So I will have a look at that as well. I might have a scan tonight. Anything that can help my decision making and just give me the confidence that we're moving in the direction that I thought, because obviously, you know, sometimes you'll get trapped. And sort of there's an area where you're thinking it could go up or down, but you know, when I saw that, I thought short. But if you have something showing that there are a lot of other people going short, then that might be a place to. And it's done well, isn't it? It's moved down nice. But yeah, it is it's not the clearest of days, is it? Order flow can be done through the DOM timescales. Yeah. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. Let's have a cleavage of the market. Just write down the 1 to 3 setups perhaps that you want to take. Yeah. Sucks when you miss it. Yeah. I did. Okay, so somebody mentioned about who's the guy on in the forum? What's his name? Who just takes. He doesn't pick tops or bottoms. He just takes second entries and I think failures. I don't think he does lower highs. What's his name? He's on the forum sometimes. Writes stuff on the forum. Yeah, see, that's looking like a tempting trade, but it's only a first entry, and that's the trouble. Where's it going to go? Down, up? Who knows? Last 2 years were sport with high volume. Now we're back to slow grinds. Great quality setups are harder to find. Yeah, they are. Okay, so we touched here. There's our top. There's our bottom. Oh, hello. So if you took that short, you've just had your arse handed to you on a plate. To be honest with you, I didn't think many people would take that short, but by the way, it shot up. It certainly was. But it was only one. It's only really one entry, isn't it? It's a first entry, but that's why I left it, because you just don't know. It's not. It's very bouncy. It's choppy. You know, every time we hit a bottom or a top, it's in a different place, so it's hard to figure out. I suppose you maybe could say there is some. There's possibly maybe a top there. This might be a failed break. I don't know, but normally with a channel like that, you'd expect a break and a new low, but not the case. I mean, we went from here, we touched here, touched here, touched here, fitted nice. But the trouble is, when it's choppy like this, sometimes they don't make sense. I suppose that's why we wait for a second entry. Pretty fair to speak at the time right now. So we may get random spikes. Yeah, I'd say the way that broke above there, it's probably likely there were some stops there, but it is only a first entry. That's the trouble. I think it might dump. You think so? Bookmap would have showed you the increase in buys. Yeah, so if you're thinking about going short there and all of a sudden you see buys coming in, stay away. I don't think there's any type of a... Okay, maybe there is. Trouble is, sometimes when I mark these, the bottoms don't fit, and eventually when you start to trust them, they shaft you. So we've had... It is a second entry short there, but it's a bit congested, isn't it? How it shut up on my footprint with nothing on the sell side means it was also a spike. Yeah, so I don't know whether to look at Bookmap or footprint. Is it footprint? Not footprint. Not footprint. Bookmap. I don't know. I've gone blank. It will come to me. Okay, so we've had this channel. We've had a push up. That's a second entry short, but it is just, it's around the open. There's clearly some support and resistance around the middle there. We did have that spike, so yeah, sorry, order flow is a word, so I don't know whether to look into order flow or bookmap. I think bookmap sounds like it may give you a bit more visual information as opposed. The trouble is, if you've got to read numbers, it takes a little bit longer than looking at size of balls and colours, if that makes sense. So I might have a couple of days looking at both and see which one I think would be the best to look at. Hoping it was a liquidity run. Yeah. So ATR's grown a bit as well. So okay, so we've had this channel. We've had a break of it. We haven't had a new low. It doesn't mean we're not going to. We've had another little channel there. Short-term trend channel. We've had a break at a new high. So there's definitely some areas of support around here. We've seen it there and along here, so maybe it might push up to there. I don't know, but I can't really see any good setups as yet. I don't know whether you'd have taken that one, see, because it's just come out the bottom. Maybe you would have done. Okay, so we've had a break, and I'd say I'd expect to get to here. Whether we'll get higher or not, I don't know. No setup, even if you wanted to. Well, there's technically a failure there, but you just, it's a bit vague, isn't it? It's too far from the EMA. Trouble is, after this, you just can't get involved in anything like that, really, or this, can you? Because you just don't know whether it's going to have a couple of legs up and then come down. It's just hard to say. I think we're up here now. I'll be surprised if we don't bounce here. Maybe a couple of legs, may get higher, may get up to here, may even get to the tops. So, yes, some congestion here, so I'd expect it to, if it surpasses this, I'd expect it to get up here somewhere. Certainly seems like it's having a good push. Yeah, see, I can see there's some buying there, but sometimes it's good to have an actual reference with numbers or something. Okay, so is there going to be any short stops here or not? Possibly. Oh, interesting. Just a good 10 points. Where'd you go from here? Yeah, I just couldn't do it. Let's have a look. But, trouble is, you just don't know with this. It's sort of, I mean, it could be. Yeah, I mean, usually you'd have something like this in a lot of cases. It'll be a couple of legs up and then down. Retesting the lows. It's just hard to say. Yeah, so that's possible. That would take us close to these highs up here. This is what I'd call choppy. Because it's, you know, we've got a different bottom there, different bottom, different bottom, different top, different top, different top. It's a bit all over the place, really. I mean, it's moving. If you can get a setup, you know, it's clearly moving. But I can't really see any good setups. I mean, I suppose the only one you may say is that triple test, which did work in the end. We had this little spike in a little channel. We had a break out of it. New high. Try to go one strike twice failure. Trouble is, it's so congested. You just don't know. I haven't got the confidence to take these at the moment because I don't know. I just have bad luck when it comes to them. Probably not bad luck, but it's the wrong word. But you just don't know. It's a little bit unpredictable. It might just, I mean, if you look at the moment, prices are more or less being, with the exception of their small amount, prices are being held by the EMA. So you just don't know when it's going to trigger and bounce off and go higher, and then we're going to have a bigger channel. But that, it was a triple test. It was a failure, and it did make some nice points. But I don't know whether you call it a high probability trade. I think it's a good trade. I think Mac will mark it. I don't know, maybe. I don't know at this point, but I like main range lows. 9.8. Yeah. We got the open here. That's why I haven't put a line or something there. It's clearly touching there, and it's clearly touching there. So I'm just wondering whether this will be close to the tops as well, because you know, it does seem to be working in sort of this area, but it's hard to figure out, isn't it, range wise, and that might just be a bit of a break, but who knows. What do you think in terms of large structure? Yeah, I don't know, it's not making much sense. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, it's a little bit all over the place, really. Doesn't look too bad if you do that, but okay, short-term trend channel, we've got a break. New high, and we've bounced off here a little bit, so it's not convincing. We've come down, we're still trying to push up a bit, so I'm not convinced we're going to come down. I'd still like to think, well, I think we're more likely going to push up. This might just be a little bit of a pullback because we've hit these highs. You still miss at least 4 blue, red, a couple of more greens. Yeah, the trouble is, we could see 1 or 2 trades, and Mac will see a dozen anyway. But I mean, he might go there. You know, he might say there's a failure there. But the trouble is with the congestion, and you just don't know, do you? I don't know. There was a second entry there, but it's, to me, that's clearly congestion. So I don't know. There's nothing I can see that's obvious. There's nothing I can say. Oh, that's a good trade. I don't think it's a terrible trade. I don't think it's a bad trade. It clearly worked. It was a triple test, but it is just a little bit choppy for me to. I did look at it, and when it came down a bit, I nearly hit the sell button. But I'm trying to just think, and if something doesn't feel right, I think it's much better to stay out, because that instinct is gonna keep you out of trouble to a degree. If it doesn't feel right, I think you're best off staying. It might turn into be a good trade, but that's okay. It's okay, to leave trades and not take them if something doesn't feel right. Much better to, we're all sort of different levels of experience, and if a particular trader takes a particular setup regularly, that's in their arsenal. They're going to feel more comfortable taking that. But I always think the best option is if it doesn't feel right. There's usually a reason. He is, yeah. He had some more surgery, didn't he? And I think has he gone to Alaska? I think, isn't he? He's a fisherman, isn't he? I'm sure he said he's gone to Alaska. Is it Alaska? I think it was. If he's gone to Alaska, I'm assuming he's a salmon fisherman, isn't he? I don't know. Okay, so we've this line here is clearly playing a part. So maybe it's going to push down and come down. I don't know. If it breaks above here, I think it'll do it with a little bit of vigor, I think. Yeah, it's just hard to know. It might quickly spike up, or it might spike up and come down. I don't know. It certainly looks like it's trying to push higher. You just don't know. I'm not convinced enough to think about trading based on it. We hit these areas a few times. Sometimes it likes to break through them. Other times it might just give up and drop. Yeah, it's if I went long into this and I posted it later, I'd get ripped to pieces. I'd get crucified. It is dangerous going into those longs, especially when that channel's had a break and made a new high. It's looking like it's trying to push up, no doubt about it. But trouble is, I've been trapped in trades like this before, and I've put it, and someone's going, "Why the hell have you gone long into those? There's barely a point to the highs. Look at all that support." It certainly looks like it's trying to push higher, and if it gets above this, then I expect it will push higher. There's a pushing hard down. If they fail, we should see price move upwards. Yeah. I mean, I suppose if you're going to take a trade here, you might be better off putting it one tick above this lot. Because if it breaks this and does manage to break it, then I'd think then it's likely going to push up. Trouble is, if you do put it one tick above there, your stop's going to have to go here, really. Or here, which is quite a big risk. Yeah, exactly. There's a possible fail second entry long as well. So you might get trapped going long, you might get trapped going short. It's clearly getting a little bit congested, which is just same thing here. See, we had a break and we had a new high, tried to go higher a bunch of times. You think it might break, but it didn't. It dropped. So it could do either way, really. You just don't know, do you? I know this is not a popular opinion or tactic, but I sometimes take more dodgy trades with micros like here. Well, funnily enough, I used to have, I've got one here somewhere. I changed it earlier. I used to have one of those 1 point. So what I used to do was put it one tick above a lot of support like this. And what you'll find then is a lot of time if it breaks it, it'll break it quickly and it'll get your scalp almost straight away. I used to do that quite a bit, but I found it got a bit scrappy in the end. But it'd be interesting just to see if it does break above there. So let's just put, 1 point there like that. I think that's about right. Let's just see if it does manage to break it. The trouble is it probably somewhere around about there. Okay, so there's a point. So if it does break these highs, a lot of the time it will break it quite quickly, and you can be in and out of the trade in a second. But once it happened and it went up and came down and took me out, and I swear it had actually pushed above there. But if it does it really quick, see if there's a huge amount of short orders here, as it triggers mine, it might shoot up and then come down. And I've had that once before as well. And in my opinion, it triggered me, but it didn't work. It went above my order where my profit was and then came back down and stopped me out. So I stopped doing it in the end. It's actually down. Yeah, it could move pretty quickly, couldn't it? Yeah, I certainly think you need to adjust your profit targets in some areas. Okay, so maybe a second entry long will be taking another run up for it, or maybe it's coming down. There's clearly a lot of congestion around this area, isn't there? So are we going up or are we going down? I don't know. But if we can break below here and push back up bullish, that's a second entry long. It looks like new high, 2 legs. Trouble is, going long after we've had a break into these highs from here is risky. It's It's not to say it's not going to work. It looks like it's trying to push high. If it does break above here, I'm pretty sure it'll make a point pretty quick. Okay, second entry long by the looks of things. It's very stemmy, isn't it? Really wicky. So it might trigger you and come down. One leg, two leg. Certainly trying to push higher. Okay, nice looking bar, but just I'm not a fan. It's hard to go long into that, really, isn't it? There's barely a point. But if it does break there, I'm pretty sure he'll push straight through there. So if this pushes down below here, I'd say there's a failed second entry long there. But the way it's going up, I think they're trying to push it higher, so I'll be surprised if it doesn't. Yeah, there's definitely money to be made in these areas if you know what you're doing. But it does look like it's trying to push high. If it breaks through this, if it breaks these highs, I can see it hitting a point pretty quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's tried quite a few times to break it. It's just whether there's a load of shorts above there. So it might trigger and come back down, but so there may be enough force to hit a point relatively quickly. But it could just come tumbling down. There may be some more longs in there. Had a little bit of a drop there. I dare say there'll be some longs in there. Second entry long. Yeah, it'd be interesting to think, what does the order book or the book map or whatever say here? Is there likely going to be some short orders above there? Or is it likely to keep pushing up? I've seen two scenarios. I've seen it push up quickly, get your point, and I've also seen it go up and come down quick. So it depends whether we got a lot of sell orders above here. I'd say it's more likely going to break that 1 point. The flow shows a massive absorption or very high. Positive delta about that. Okay, so failure triggered. So there's some traps here, so it may come down. It has tried to go R3 times now. So that is a failure, so it's hard to say. Could go either way, really. Could go either way. Okay, if it comes below here, then buyers are trying very hard, but sellers are moving in now. Yeah, there's a fight there, isn't there? So obviously the sellers' stops are going to be somewhere around about here, aren't they? Trouble is that not everyone puts a tick or two ticks like us. That there is a failure there, and it's right along there. So you could call that a triple test as well. Well, look at that. When we had the last 3 times to push up, it came down So try go once, right? It is a triple test. Exactly the same scenario here. It's had a break, made a new high. So it's gone up once, twice, 3 times. Triple test. It's just the way every time it's coming down here, it's been pushed back up. It didn't really do that so much. So I'd say it's more likely going to break these highs than not, personally. But you know, if I had to put odds on it, I'd say, you know, maybe 60-40. But I don't know. It's not enough to trade with anyway. 45,000 orders, really. Yeah. Trouble is, you need to be experienced to make decisions up here, don't you? And have deep pockets. It is coming down, but so many times you'll see this. It'll drag in more and more longs, and all of a sudden, wham. Okay, so there's a failure. I don't know whether there'll be any longs there. I dare say there'll be maybe some traders there, quite likely there. Second entry long. None of that. Complicated. We're in congestion by definition. Absolutely. We were there, see, but we had three attempts to go higher, followed by a bearish bar, and it came down. Same there, triple test. 1, 2, 3 attempts to go higher, triple test. So as we're at the tops, I'd say, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the triple test, to be fair. I don't trade a lot of them. But they'll be, so if the market breaks above there, I think it's safe to say it'll hit that 1 point profit pretty quickly, because there's going to be some longs here and there's going to be some shorts. So whatever it does, I think it'll do it with some vigor. And if it does push above there, because I'd say third time lucky, there's going to be some shorts. Didn't someone mention there was some shorts coming in? If it breaks above there, I think it'll certainly shoot up a point if it manages to. But if it gets below here, then I'd expect it then maybe to give up the ghost. Trouble is, I don't like being in longs here, because sometimes when it hits your stop, it rockets through and then you end up losing more. You know, it's okay saying we got risk management, I'm only risking 2.5 points, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to only get taken out for 2.5 points. One nice clear second entry would be nice, wouldn't it? It's been a toughish trading day. But as long as you're okay and you're calm and patient, I'm okay at the moment. So you don't mind the tough days if your patience is right. But it's really trying to push a bit. It's only got to get above there, really, isn't it? I'm pretty sure there'll be some short stops there, and I think it'll be enough to quickly push it through that 1 point. I'll just put, if you don't know, I'll just put that out. I used to have a one. Oh, there we go. Didn't miss it by a tick. I think it'll still go a bit higher. Yeah, it will do. Or will it? One more tick. That's what I mean. Sometimes I've done that before, and sometimes it'll hit it and go through miles through it. Other times it'll go up and then come down. So it's pushed up, yeah, and there's some short orders there. See, so if I'd have taken that 1 point, it wouldn't have hit me. And if I'd have taken that 1 point, my stop's down here. So it's quite a big risk. That's why I stopped doing it in the end. Sometimes it'd rocket through it, other times it'd miss it by a tick. But I don't necessarily think it pushed up strong, because there was a lot of buyers there. I think it was more the stops. Here comes the reversal. Yeah, so there's clearly some shorts there, isn't there? But oh, do you take that? Do you take that, dear? It's not far from the EMA, does it? So it wouldn't have taken your point, so that's why I stopped doing it in the end, because sometimes it'd work, other times it'd come down here and knacker you. So there's obviously some sellers there to cause that to come down, yeah. It's a big ass bar in it, and it's right at the EMA, so I'd much prefer to catch a lower high through here because it might come back to me and push up again. See, we got a new low here after this, so it's a second entry short, I think, more or less. I think we've got to get below this area. But it's clearly choppy again. I mean, it dropped quick, but look, it's pushing back up now, so it's just dangerous to trade here, really. It hasn't triggered below that red bar, so... What do you mean, bud? Yeah, you've put that before. What is that? Kong? Is it? Oh, congested. Sorry. Pardon my stupidity. Kong, yeah, congested. Absolutely, yeah. But look at that. So he came back down and then pushed straight back up. So I'm not convinced the buyers are giving up just yet. It didn't dawn on me. Kong. I'm thinking Kong. Perhaps it's a term I haven't heard of. Bullish bias, yeah, it's seeming that way, isn't it? I got no idea, actually. Just what I can see at the moment, yeah, it's looking more bullish. We've had this push, and we see this a lot of the times. We'll have a push, and then it'll go sideways with an upwards bit until we get a decent bar off here, and then off it'll go. It's already broken out now, taking any stops and come back. But if you get a decent bar off here, then I think it'll go up again. Certainly to this area, if not right up here. You'll often see this, it'll go sideways, slightly up, maybe push below, get a beautiful bar, sat right on the EMA, and then off it'll go. Obviously, there's got to be something worth taking for buyers to get in there. There's a new low there now. We've already actually broken this area now, so, and it pushed back in and then still pushed up. See, hopefully if it comes down here somewhere, there may be some more buyers there, and it may get that little shoot up and something decent. Yes, he's tempted to stuff, but there's no real setup there really. Try go lower, try go twice. It's still right in the middle there. It could go up and tick, come down a bit more, and then go up a bit higher. So it's just so hard to trade this really. It's just dangerous. See if this picks any buy orders up down here. Sellers are in. I'm not convinced. It could just push higher from here. So we've had this, haven't we? That looks like a hidden second entry long. Could call that hidden second entry long, fade to breakout. Trouble is, we've actually already broken out of this, haven't we? We've pushed higher, broken above here, and then came back down strongly. So it's risky taking a long there. Yeah, you might take a long here, see, and then get trapped. It's tried enough times to go out there, isn't it? And really, if there's any longs in there, maybe there or there, they're probably out the game now, aren't they? So it might trigger them and then come back down. But I'd say it's starting to look a little bit on the bearish side for me. It's clearly playing a part, this. I mean, it has got through, but it hasn't followed through, has it? I do wonder whether there's going to be some longs take that and it's going to come down. Yeah, I've had to look sometimes. Sometimes you look at the numbers and think, what's going on? You do wonder. Okay. I was hoping that would trigger above there, really, which would trigger that. Does look like it's slowly starting to work down. It's hard to say. It is possible it could bounce off here and have a retrieve, but I don't know. Just looking like it's starting to... There we go. We had exactly the same sort of thing, really. We had a break, tried a few times to go higher, came back down. Same again, we had a break, tried a bunch of times to go higher. Actually broke it out a little bit, but then just no interest from buyers. So sellers came back in, pushed it down a little bit more sideways, and I'd say down we go. Once we get below this area here, I think then I expect to get down somewhere around about here, maybe. Just below this midline we need to get to, really. Okay, I'm just going to take a bathroom break just for a couple of minutes. I'll be back. Okay. Oh, look at that. Oh, I didn't see that. Did that push up quickly? I didn't see that. If that moved down and pushed up quickly, Game of patience. Yeah, maybe time. Sorry about this. I got a squeak in the background. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. Get the dog upstairs on me. All I can hear is squeak. Like Marco says, game of patience, maybe time. 3 years. Walk out with 0 today. Still better than absolutely, mate. Yeah. Yeah, it was nice to see Marco put that loss down, especially when I took that one as well. It is nice to see that, the more experienced traders lose them as well sometimes. It did look like a good trade, to be fair, but I suppose it was around the middle and it was a bit congested, but I don't think he missed it by much. I think it went for a point, if I remember. But I think Marco goes for 6 ticks now, I believe. Yeah, it's not really a very clear day, is it? It's clearly ranging, but there's no sort of, I don't know, there's no sort of pattern to it, really. The push up side was push up. Right to the top, then we had a leg down, a bit of an overshoot, then we had a push up, then down halfway, or a little bit over halfway. They're not. It's not the clearest, easiest to read day, is there? It measured legs aren't as crisp. Different sizes. Yeah, it's a different. I've sort of almost forgot what it's like to have a nice trending day. But if I remember, if on the daily, we've had this slow downtrend over the last sort of 14 months, I think, and we'd broken above it, and I think we're going sideways at the moment, which is probably why we're getting a lot of this sideways stuff. So whether we'll come back into it or whether we'll break up, I think it holds long enough and interest rates start to show signs of coming down, it may hold or push up. Yeah, still not clear. It's not, is it, B? No. Makes it hard to trade, yeah. I mean, if I suppose we know this is an area where it's struggling to get through, and that would make sense. But there's no real trades there. There's no real trades, and it's risky. Apart from that, it's not fantastic. I mean, this is the highs, but it's up there by itself. This is the lows. It's down there by itself. There's nothing, there's no sort of stability, really, is there? Excuse me. It's going to push up hard, yeah. See, at the moment, it looks to me like it's still in that range, that little channel, I think. So it may just break and then come down a bit, or it may rocket up. time is it? Okay, we've got another half an hour anyway. Yeah, I can't really see much here, to be fair. Your system tells me to make a short at 42.09. Where's that? Here. 42.09. That's about there, isn't it? Stop loss at 42.12. So up here on that line there. Yes, it's a different system, ours. We have to wait for a second entry. Just the way it's come down. So that midline, or the official open, seems to be playing a part around here. So there's definitely some congestion here. So it may go up and have another go. Where is it? Yeah, there's clearly some areas of support and resistance around here. There's some resistance there, some support there, some resistance there, resistance there, support there. So, I mean, I still like the fact that we may make this other measured leg get back up to these highs. So I just couldn't go short. I mean, there's no setup for us for our strategy anyway. We've just come down. So I don't know what you think about this channel. It's definitely a channel of some sort. It's not the best channel in the world, but it's fitting relatively nice in there. But we've come down and bounced and just pushed up. So, and then it may sort of just be sort of a bit of a ranging area. I would go for a long on the pullback. Yeah, there's nothing for me really that I can get involved really. So that's pushing up strongly. So if you took your short, or if you're short triggered there, it'd be interesting to see whether you're out of it. I think you might be. It's looking quite strong, that is. And if it breaks above here again, then I expect it to come up to here. That's quite some strong buying, that, isn't it? So it gets above here again, then I think here or the tops for me. Unfortunately, there's no real setup there, and by the time that bar's finished, you're actually on this area, aren't you? So if you had your stop as your stop hit, I think it just might have been. See, it does look like it's possible. We've sort of bounced here, and we bounced here, and we bounced a bunch of times. It just looks possible. It just might be a little bit of a range. So, okay, if that comes down and ends up bearish, then I'd say it's probably a range, and we may come back in. But okay, so if you took that short there, it's smashed through your stop. So look. Yeah, there could be a bit of a range there. We've pushed up, tried a bunch of times to get out, pushed down, pushed up. We've pushed above it and come back down. So we may come back down again. It's hard to say. I mean, Friday was really choppy. This is not so much choppy. It is moving, but it's every time it hits a top or a bottom, it's in a different place. With the exception of this, but when it's hitting this, it's really congested. So it's just so hard to get short there, or there. You've got a bit out of it, but it's just so congested. You can't trade that safely, really, can you? It's just risky. I mean, it is moving. If you can find a setup, But there's not a lot really. Yeah, see, I don't know the way that's popped out there, then close, you may take that, but it may just stop you out. It keeps trying to push back up, so, if I had to pick a side, I'd say it's more likely going to go up than down. Oh, dear. Excuse me. I think there's a holiday on Monday as well, I think it's a bank holiday. Memorial Day, 30th. That's a week. It's a week today, I think. Is it? All right. I think it's a week today. Bank holiday in the UK as well, so interesting. Great day, yeah. How you doing, bud? Yeah, so look, I don't know whether you'd have taken that. You may have done. It's popped out there and closed and come back down, bounced off this. So, but to me, it does look like it's trying to go higher. It keeps pushing back up there. Trouble, it's not really good enough to go short, is it? And that's just too high to go long into this lot. I mean, we've pushed above it, the main, body of it, a couple of times there and there, but nothing's really taken over. Yeah, it's clearly bouncing off the midline there. And there has a point as well, which is below that little shaded area I've put. It's just right above that midline. So there's an area where it's definitely using support and resistance. See if we do get up this time. It's definitely trying to get up. This might be the case. It might just, I don't know, maybe there's a few bit more interest this time, but every time it gets above here, it's not carrying on. Okay, so possibly lower high. I just can't bring myself to trade this. It might work, it might not work. Okay, short-term trend channel break. Last 3 swing lows for support. Clearly. Triangle. What about here, are you? Yeah, I don't tend to follow these much, but obviously they can play a part. It's clearly an ascending triangle, isn't it? So I do expect it to push up. But I did there, actually. I thought when it broke there, it was going to push up some more and maybe make another leg, but it hasn't. Expecting it to go to the highs. Yeah, same here. Thing is, it's got to get enough interest, really, until we get an half-decent setup. Well, as you go short here, it's literally working between that area, aren't they? Isn't it the top and the middle line, with the exception of that one? So it could do this a bit more, couldn't it? It could come towards this. I mean, you know, these ascending triangles will break at some time, but it could just bounce off a bit more. Sometimes they'll drop out the bottom and then shoot up. Sometimes they'll just shoot up. I can't remember whether the ascending triangle is a bullish pattern, is it? Or I don't know. Okay, so we've had a break, so it may come down a bit. Lower high. I don't know. It's not something I feel comfortable with trading at the moment. It's just so choppy in this area. You know, it could just come down to here and bounce again. Okay, so we've had a break. Could call this a failure. Lower high there. Trouble is, it might pop out, but it might come up and down a bit more before it pushes. It's just, I'm not a fan of taking them that far off the EMA. If it came down here and sat on the pushed out and sat here, then I may be interested, but it's just so choppy. Yeah, if it does get to the bottom, drops out and pushes up, then I may go for 2 points. If I look at bullish bars here, that would have made 2 points. That would have made 2 points. Short-term trend channel, second entry long. See how bullish it is. If it drops below, pushes up strong and sits on top of there, then I may go for 2 points just to the top. hopefully. See, I'd much prefer that to drop and to sit on there like that. I would really. Not a fan of that because there's not much room to the highs. And then you'd be going long right in the middle of there with not much room. Not saying it'll work, but... not a fan of that. I wouldn't be shocked if it triggered that and stopped it out. See if that comes down bearish. That's a failed second entry long. I don't know whether it will pull out or not, but what would you have got? Well, you may have squeezed a point there. Let's have a look. Oh, I don't know. You may have squeezed a point. Ooh. Yeah, so you just don't know. It's just that choppy, isn't it? It might work, it might not work, but yeah, it might just drop straight through that. It's not the best looking bar. It's not terrible, but there's just not a lot of room to the top. See, your arse will be twitching like a good in there. I hate getting involved in trades like that where they go up a bit and come down a bit and start pissing around going sideways. Yeah. I took a 1.1 point trade. Let's have a look. I can't remember now. Failure. I think it's back here somewhere. Yeah, I think I took it there above that short. Failed second entry, long. Took it above that short. What happened? Oh, you're still in the game. Okay, that second entry long, you're still in there. It came down. It was a tick off getting you, I think. Oh, a couple of ticks off getting you. It's just so choppy though, isn't it? Sorry about that if you can hear whining. It's my dog trying to get in the room. What time is it? 51. Okay. Probably going to finish in a minute, I think. It's one of them days, I think. What time is it? Just got 10 to. Yeah, it's just a funny old day, to be fair. Really funny day. I mean, market's moved, but there's just so much of this chop at areas where we're looking for trades. There's a second entry long there, and I don't think it quite made a point. So it's just, you just don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if it comes down and stops that out. You just don't want to be in a trade when it's doing that, do you? Right, I'm going to have to go. My dog's whining like mad up there. Okay, so we normally be finishing in about 7.5 minutes anyway, but it's going to be one of those days today. But it's definitely been a calmer, patient day for me anyway. So, whether it'll make it up there or not, but there's just so much chopping there at the moment. So much of this sideways stuff, and let's just have a look at that. So if you were in that trade now, you wouldn't be very happy at the moment, would you? I mean, it's trying. There's a failure there, so okay, so there we go. So that might there's a failure that might come down. So let's have a look. Where was the failure there? There, new high. Try go one. Try failure came down pretty quick. So look at that. So if you took that second entry, it wasn't a great bar anyway, and you wouldn't have quite got it out of it. Look at it's coming down now. Is it going to hold on here? Because it's clearly holding prices. So that's clearly not people thinking about getting short there, I don't think. Maybe it might finish a bit lower. Interesting. It's a big old bar, that. Yeah, so we may get another low. I don't know what's going on with the I've got no idea. Funny old day, actually, but at least a more patient day on my behalf. Nothing stupid today, so it's just one of those days. But I don't mind, actually. It's good practice to have days like this from time to time. It does, work on your patience, and today's not been a bad day, to be fair. Let's have a look. Save charts. What day is it? 20, 22, 5, 23. What do you say there, mate? Especially since it rejects each time. Yeah, you don't know what to do, do you? Do you go higher? It's certainly trying to go higher, but every time it gets close, it just cans back down. The second leg of that second entry long is inside bar. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, mate. I got no idea. We have got a failure there, but would you take that? Didn't trig above it anyway, really, but the trouble is it dropped, but then it pushed back in, straight back into that little bit of there's a little bit of a range here which we had a drop out of, and a small range, but it's like, what is it, like 2.5, 3 points from top to bottom? Barely 3 points. You just can't trade that, really. You took that one, you went long and stopped you out. It's tough at the moment, isn't it? It might sort itself out, but it's all right. I don't mind. It's just a better day than Friday, that's for certain. Friday, I was just way off my game Friday. I think, to be honest with you, I needed a bit of a reality check, and I think I got it. Nothing worse than getting battered now and again. You learn a lot, don't you? You learn to think next time. So there you go, guys. That's it for today. Quiet day today, but patience has been good, so that's good. That's what I need to work on most of all, my patience, and just staying out of shit trades. There are a couple I may have got into that, I don't know, that wouldn't have worked, I don't think, so it was a good decision. So there you go. That's it for today. So I'll be back again as usual tomorrow. It is, what day is it? Monday, isn't it? Monday today, yeah, okay. So I appreciate all your comments, guys, as usual. Quiet day. Not a huge amount of volume, but just it's a little bit. Maybe it might be working itself up. I don't know. Possible. I don't know. It's not doing it in a hurry. Put it that way. But But that'll do me for today. Weather's nice in here. I'm going to go and light the barbecue and have myself a nice single malt. So have a great evening, guys. Thanks, Wood. I appreciate that, mate. Yeah, I appreciate your comments, mate. You messaged me over the weekend and that helped me out, mate. So yeah, thanks, Wood. I appreciate all your comments and all your support. Thank you, Sam. So yeah, not a terrible day today. A little bit just unpredictable and a little bit all over the place. But on days like this, if I end up slightly in the green or zero, I think it's a result. So I think you know your good days trading reflect on, is it a tough day? Did you end up zero? Then yeah, that's okay. So there we go. So I'll be back again as usual tomorrow. So have a great evening, guys. Stay safe. I appreciate all your comments and all your support. And hopefully we may get a more exciting day tomorrow. So good evening to you, mate. Good evening. So have a great evening. Stay safe. And I will catch up with you all again.